Hello. This is Dr. Arthur Smythe, and welcome to Lesson 8.4, Friction. This lecture introduces you to the 4 types of friction, how friction affects motion, and a brief introduction to projectile motion. The duration of this lecture is less than 10 minutes. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to compare the 4 kinds of friction, and define projectile motion. A force that is always present and we are working to overcome is friction. Friction is a force that opposes the motion of objects that touch as they move past each other. There are 4 main types of friction: static friction, sliding friction, rolling friction, and fluid friction. On a cold day, it is common to rub your hands together to warm them up. It is the friction between your palms that causes the heat. Static friction is the friction force that acts on objects that are not moving. Static friction always acts in the direction opposite to that of the applied force. When you push something across the floor, it takes a little more effort to start the motion. This is static friction. It is static friction that keeps a water bottle from sliding across the table with the slightest of breezes, or a glass of juice from sliding from your hand. Sliding friction is a force that opposes the motion of an object as it slides over a surface. Sliding friction is a force that acts in the opposite direction of motion. Therefore, you must continue to apply a force to keep the object in motion. Sliding friction is always less than static friction. Rolling friction is the resistance force that acts on rolling objects. Rolling friction is mainly caused by non-elastic effects, that is, not all the energy needed for movement of the wheel, roadbed, etc., is recovered when the pressure is removed. The force of rolling friction is about 100 to 1000 times less than the force of static or sliding friction. Ball bearings are used to significantly reduce friction, both static and rolling. Most everything that rolls has ball bearings. Fluid friction opposes the motion of an object through a fluid. Friction, acting on an object moving through the air, is a type of fluid friction known as air resistance. Fluid friction increases as the speed of the object moving through the fluid increases. The Blackbird, SR-71, was a supersonic spy aircraft that flew at speeds of 2,000 miles per hour. Which is 3 times the speed of sound. This speed causes an enormous amount of friction. Even in the thin atmosphere 15 miles over the planet. The leading edge of the aircraft reached 450 degrees Fahrenheit during flight. The cockpit of the aircraft had specially designed glass to protect the pilot from extreme temperatures. The last of these planes retired in 1998. Having been rendered obsolete by satellites. Projectile motion is a form of motion experienced by an object that is projected near the Earth's surface, and moves along a curved path only under the effect of gravity. In most situations, the effects of air resistance is so minuscule it is ignored. The study of projectile motions is called ballistics, and such a trajectory is a ballistic trajectory. The only significant force that acts on the object is gravity, which pulls downward, giving the object a downward acceleration. Because of the object's initial horizontal movement, no external horizontal force is needed to maintain the horizontal velocity component of the object. Please, pay attention to the animation to the right of the screen. The blue ball is a projectile. Notice that both the red and blue balls fall at the same rate, because of gravity, but the blue sphere had a horizontal force applied to it as it fell. The x-axis force provides the horizontal component to the blue ball's movement. Lesson summary. Friction is a force that opposes the motion of objects that touch as they move past each other. Static friction is the friction force that acts on objects that are not moving. Sliding friction is a force that opposes the direction of motion of an object as it slides over a surface. Rolling friction is the friction force that acts on rolling objects. Fluid friction opposes the motion of an object through a fluid. Fluid friction increases as the speed of the object moving through the fluid increases. Projectile motion is how physicists describe two-dimensional motion, where the only acceleration the object in question experiences is the constant downward acceleration due to gravity. By now, you should be able to compare the four kinds of friction, and define projectile motion. If I have seen farther, it is by standing upon the shoulders of giants.